Welcome to the Module 4. We'll be talking about legal framework and documentation. If you are a realtor, you need to know about legal framework. Legal framework is how the law governs land. You understand? How does government, how does the laws of Nigeria govern real estate transactions, real estate acquisition in Nigeria? You need to know that law is a very key component of real estate, because what proves that you own a property is not the fact that you say you own it. The number one thing that shows ownership is documents, and documents is legal. You understand? It is prepared by lawyers and it is governed and authorized by the government. So you need to know how it works so that you can transact safely and professionally, and also give your clients the best advice. Now, the first thing you need to know about the legal framework and documentation, especially in Nigeria, is what they call the land tenure systems. Now, what is land tenure systems? Land tenure systems refers to how land is owned, how land is controlled, how land is transferred, and how land is used. You understand? This shows you how can land be owned, how can land be controlled, how can it be used, and how can it be transferred. And there are two major types of land tenure systems. The number one is the customary land tenure system. Just like the name customary, you understand? You already know village, community, you understand? Local government. So this is land that are controlled by families, communities, traditional rulers, and village heads. The customary land tenure systems is a tenure system that governs land that is under a rural area. Any state you go to, the lands that are in the rural area of that state is governed with the customary land tenure system. And how does it work? Now, ownership is based on tradition, oral agreement, and community knowledge. So ownership is based on tradition. There's a very, very clear difference between buying a land in Independence Layout, which is the heart of Enugu, and buying a land in somewhere like, let's say, Mbulo, which is like, or Soka, which is like an outskirts of Enugu State. Now, the land in Independence Layout is an urban area, and it has a different land tenure system, even though they are in the same state. But it has a different way that it operates. There's a different way you can own that one. But if you go and buy a land in Nsukka, it's still the same state, or still the same Enugu State, but there are different operations, there are different acquisition, there are different ways you can register that land. Now, the one in the rural area has a customary land tenure system, and this one, ownership is recognized by tradition. You understand? Oral agreement, sometimes just community knowledge. So if you're buying a property in a rural area, most of the times, one of the major things you need to do, in the Igbo language, they call it Ngriana, it's called traditional rights. You understand? Where you go, where you have to do some things. Sometimes you have to kill cow or kill a goat, buy palm wine or buy drink, call some people, they'll come and drink over the land, they'll kill the animal there and they'll cook it there. These are traditional rights. This shows that this person is the owner. It's part of something you need to do, you understand, for you to register your ownership. Then we also have oral agreements. Sometimes they don't even do documents, but recently now, because of how things have started being advanced, people have started going to school, they now draft agreements. And sometimes also by community knowledge. Sometimes before you buy a land, you might have to go to the house of the chief to go and inform him. The chief needs to be aware that, okay, this land is now, just community knowledge. So in Enugu, lands like in Nike, places like Ugwa, places like some parts of Ugwaji, not all the parts, Akugo, you understand? Even some parts of Owo, Kano, all these places falls under customary ownership. Understand? And this is where you now have to also hear things like, this is where Ogbone Chegu is more rampant, community development fee, sometimes they even tell you to pay for Egondi youth, pay for youth. You understand? Different people can just come up, you understand? Sometimes you even have to pay for some elders, you understand? But it's not usually that much. It has its benefit and it has its disadvantage. Now, what is the risk associated with the customary land tenure system? Number one is that multiple family representatives can collect money. You understand? So this is one of the major risks. Number two is disputes among siblings. So if you buy a land, even if it is the senior that is selling that land to you, maybe their father is dead, if the second son or the third son, or maybe in a situation whereby it's a polygamous family and they are having internal issues, even after buying that land, they might not be able to gain possession because of their conflict. Now, the third problem is that you buy these lands virgin. They are not registered. So when you're buying this land, they are virgin lands. You don't have to go and start doing your registration and forging your registration. And then you now have to now start paying for your Obane Echego. In Lagos, they call them Omoniles. You understand? These are the traditional owners of the property. You have to start settling them. Sometimes you might go and pay to the wrong Obane Echego, and other people will come and tell you that those people you paid to are the wrong. So it's a whole lot, you understand? And the best way, one of the advice I usually give to people is that if you're buying a land that is under a customary land tenure system from a community, make sure you work with a local, somebody that knows who and who, somebody that has mouth in that community, that knows who and who is who, so that you don't just go and make assumption. If not, you're going to pay for one particular thing, you might pay 4 times and you're still paying. These are the risks associated. But the benefit is that most of the times the lands are very, very cheap. You understand? Most of the times lands are very, very cheap. You get them at an affordable rate. You understand? Whereby if you do your development, you can make profits. Now, the land under the customary tenure system can be registered, but for it to be registered, it has to be registered in the office of the local government chairman. The governor has nothing to do with the statute, with the land under the customary land tenure system. Even though you want to get a C of O, you want to register your deed of assignment, you want to do any of your registration, your deed of lease, the highest document you can get in a customary setting in a rural area is a C of O. But this C of O is not the one you get from the governor, it's the one you get from the local government chairman, to be signed by the local government chairman of that jurisdiction, of that region, not the governor, because it's the land under customary tenure system. Now, moving swiftly, we go to the statutory land tenure system. Now, this is the land that is controlled by the state government under the Land Use Act 1978. Now, if you want to understand more about land tenure system, you need to go and read the Land Use Act. If you're a realtor or a real estate investor, make sure you read the Land Use Act 1978. It is the land use, it is the law that governs all other laws in Nigeria. So the Land Use Act is supreme. It is one that now governs other state laws, because every state has their different laws, but all of them are extracted from the Land Use Act. Now, under the Land Use Act, you don't just get land through traditional rights or through word of mouth. No, this time around, you get land through C of O, you get land through state allocation, through government layout, federal housing schemes, sometimes even private estate developers. So properties like this are all the land in an urban area. Every land in an urban area are under the statutory land tenure system. So in Enugu, lands in Independence Layout, GRA, New Haven, Transekulu, even some parts of MNN, and recently the Enugu state government listed more urban areas. So if you know that you have a land or you're selling a land under an urban area, for you to get ownership of that land, it is through either a C of O title or a state allocation, or is a government layout. So this statutory now, the major difference between the statutory and the customary is that a customary highest document is C of O, in a statutory is also C of O. But the C of O under a customary land tenure system is given by the local government chairman, while the C of O under a statutory land tenure system is given by the governor, because the land is in an urban area. So these are the major difference. Now, the risk associated with the statutory land tenure system is that sometimes government can just take your land, for no just cause, for just public, purpose, because a land in a urban area, there are a lot of things that the government wants to build, and if you're not building, if you've not developed, the government can revoke your C of O title and use it for public purpose. So if you own a land under the statutory, you are being forced to develop, you are being forced to build, and most of the time it's also very, very expensive. But the benefit is that your land is in a good position and it is sellable. You understand? It's in a place that there's high appreciation and there's also a rapid development. So this is just it for the land tenure system. If you have any question, jump right in it, write it at the comment section. The next section is going to be understanding land titles. See you.